In this tutorial today, I'm going to teach you how to use the Adobe software program called Lightroom. And Lightroom is advantageous if you're looking to categorize your photography and do some basic editing to your photography as well. When you have uploaded your pictures to the computer, it's probably going to default to your photos folder here. And what you want to do is you want to be able to get these photos out of iPhoto and into a location where Adobe Lightroom is going to be able to find it. So today I did a little experimental photography over my summer, and today I'm going to work with these images here. These ones here focused on using the macro lens. Anyways, what I want to do is I want to export them to my desktop. So I'm going to come up to here and I'm going to click Edit, or actually File, sorry, Export, and I want to export those 4 photos. Okay, so I'm going to click Export, and I want to save them as a JPEG, so it defaults to that, and everything looks good here. I'm going to click Export, and then it's going to ask me where I want to save it. So I believe it defaults to desktop, so I'm just going to export that to my desktop here. And over here it says export complete. So I'm just going to close this for now. And you can see on my desktop here I've got those 4 images that I want to work with. And from here I'm going to open up Adobe Lightroom. So for you guys, you can either type it up in the search area here. I'm going to go to my launch pad. The icon looks like this. It's light blue with an L and an R. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to click choose a different catalog, and I'm going to say open. Okay, and so it's opened itself up. Now, going back to when I first introduced Lightroom, it's used for cataloging all of your images that you take with the camera. And for you guys, you're going to be creating a contact sheet using Lightroom, which you could then print or save as a PDF. We'll be saving it as a PDF. So in order to access those 4 pictures that I just saved to the desktop, I actually need to create a new catalog. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to say File, New Catalog, and I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to save it as macro lens example, because I think we'll be referring back to this more than once. And I'm just going to say create. And it's asking me if I want to back this catalog up right now. I do not, because I am just creating it. So I'm going to say skip this time. But down the road in the future, if I continue to add pictures to it, I'll certainly want to back it up then. So I'm just going to say skip. And it says Lightroom, opening the catalog. So here it is. It's now open. So then now I want to import my images into Lightroom. And if it's not defaulting to library at the top here, make sure that that's the one that is selected. And then you're going to come down to import. So over here I'm going to click underneath Files. And I'm going to click on Users. And I'm going to find my name. For you guys, it will be your name. And I'm just going to click on Desktop. And there's my folder here, the macro lens example. Now, notice here the arrows are bolded, and this one is not. It's because my pictures are currently not in that folder. So I'm just going to go and locate them to my folder. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to move them into my folder. Okay, and I'm going to go back into the Lightroom and go back into import and desktop. And now I'm going to click on macro lens example. Here are my 4 pictures, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click import. Okay, so there are the 4 photos that I want to work with today. And you guys are going to be creating a contact sheet. So you've got all these different tabs across the top here. Here's your library where all your pictures appear. If you wanted to edit your photos, you would click under here under Develop, and it would give you options for editing. So say if you wanted to do a special effect on your images, you could click on that, and if you scroll over them, you can see over here in my preview the different effects that these have on my image. Okay, but that's not what I'm here to show you guys today. I'm going to show you how to create a contact sheet. So I actually want you to come over here to where it says print, and you're going to select print. And here I'm going to create my contact sheet. So you can see here when you scroll through here, we're under print, picture package. We can click contact sheet because that's what we're going to be creating today. And you can see here as I scroll through, it gives me different templates. So for this, I think I'm going to choose something for my 4 images. So I'm just going to scroll through and see which one's the better fit. It really just depends on how many pictures you are working with, which one you will choose. I'm going to choose 2x2 cells. Okay, so after choosing 2x2 cells, I now want to add these pictures along here into my contact sheet. So I'm just going to do that by holding down the Shift key and making my selection on each of the images. So you can see here they're similar but also slightly different. If you look at that one, we've got the image in the center of the image, and then over here where you're following the rule of thirds, and you can see the different depths of field. They're all slightly different as well. So once I've got my pictures added in, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I've got all these different options available to me as to how I want my contact sheet to look. So I mean, there are lots of different things that you can play around with here, and certainly like you can play around. You can change your margin sizes here, which refer to these areas here, margin. So it's kind of like Word, Microsoft Word. Page grid, you can say how many rows do you want, how many columns do you want. Right now it's 2x2, but I could certainly add more if I had more pictures, but I liked this layout. I could certainly add more squares. So we've got different spacing. Okay, show guides, we could turn that off. You can see all that information disappears. I like having them there. It keeps things organized. We can scroll down. Here you could change the background color if you wanted to. If you wanted black or whatever, you can certainly do that. But when you're adding your text, it'll be easier to see if you just leave it white. Identity plate, that's if you had like a company logo, you could add your logo to the bottom of your template. Watermarking, if you want to copyright your images, you can do that. I'll show you how to do that. So right now it's none. I've gone ahead and I've created my own little watermark for you guys because this is the first time you've been able to go into the program. You can go under Edit Watermarks and it will open it up, and you can go in and create your own watermark. Okay, so here's mine, Jennifer White. Yours will be whatever your name is, and then say done, and then you would name it your name as a preset, and then it's always there for you when you want to use it. So as you can see here, very faintly, it says copyright Jennifer White in the bottom of the photos, but if I deselect it, then it disappears, so it no longer is there. I'm going to leave it on. I think it looks pretty cool. And then photo information. This is important because I want to see what you guys have been doing with the aperture setting. I want you to actually select photo info, and you're going to come into here where it says file name, click on it, and where it says exposure, I want you to select exposure. Okay, so by selecting exposure, it's going to tell me what your f-stop was, your aperture, what your shutter speed was, all that sort of thing. So I want to see that each one is displayed on your photo. So this one here had a shutter speed of 320, this one here had a shutter speed of 1600, so on and so forth. So you can see the different effects. Also, I want to see your file names. Now, I had you set up the date and time on your cameras so that behind the scenes it would have the appropriate data, like date and time and all that, attached to each of your photos. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to edit, and you're going to also insert file name. And I've had you rename all your images, and so that will also appear on that line. So this one here, for example, is image underscore 0676. For you guys, it'll look a little bit different because the way that I've had you save your files. Okay, so then once you're done that, down here, print job, print resolution, 240 ppi stands for pixels per inch. I mean, usually we do 300 dpi dots per inch, but for the purpose of this activity, we can just leave it as 240 ppi. Also here, print sharpening, we've got it on low, media type, glossy. We've got an option of matte there. We can have low resolution, standard, or high. It's like whether you're printing in draft mode or if you want like a really high quality image. For the purpose of this, low is fine. And we'll just come down here. Then you can print. What you're going to be doing, if you click print, actually I'm going to have you go to printer. And instead of printing this, you guys are going to go to PDF and you're going to save it as a PDF. So let's call this aperture contact sheet. And then it's being saved to the desktop. That's a good spot. It's easy to find. And you can see up here, preparing print job. Okay, now I'm going to minimize that and hopefully it appears on my desktop, and it does. And there it is, my PDF version of my contact sheet with all of my metadata, which is showing the shutter speed and my aperture and the name of my file. And here's my lovely little watermark. And so once you've done that, once you've saved it as a PDF, I want you to upload it to the Dropbox. And that concludes your tutorial on how to create a contact sheet using Lightroom.